Hi everyone, I hope you're doing all great. Welcome to my channel. I'm Birgit from Cobasiani. This new video here is not a regular Cobasiani video. It's also part of the So Fruity 25 Challenge vlog series. Although here you won't see a classic vlog video, but rather a simple pattern hack video of one of my patterns. Now perhaps some of you will ask themselves, So Fruity 25, I've never heard of this, what's this? I'll explain to you. This is a challenge which takes place on Instagram. The host is Yvette from Blossom Sandwich, and the challenge is to sew something fruity, which means you should use something with an all over or placed fruity print. You sew something with a fruity embroidery, or you sew something in a color which reminds of fruit. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a garment, but it can also be an accessory or something for your home decor. The rules are that you sew this fruity item and post it on June the 30th on Instagram. You should use the hashtag in the caption, SoFruity25. You should tag Yvette and of course follow her on Instagram. And you should mention your country also in the caption, because there are prizes to win. There are both physical and digital prizes, so depending on your home country, Yvette will choose a prize for you. And then in early July, Yvette will choose the winners. If this was too fast for you, I'll also write the rules of the challenge down in the description box. And I will also tag Yvette in the description box. On her channel you can watch the vlog series of the So Fruity Challenge, and you'll also find a really detailed video from her about the rules and what's fruity and not. Just have fun browsing the videos. Among the prizes there will also be some Cobasiani sewing patterns. In fact, I'm a sponsor of the challenge for the 4th year in a row already. And I'm really happy to be part of this challenge, which is always so much fun. If you need more inspiration about what to sew with your fruity fabric, you can check out my IG or my Facebook handle. There I will post, or I've posted already, my fruity makes of the past years. But you can also check out Yvette's IG account. There you will also find a lot of fruity content. Today we are already the 25th, that means only a few days are left. But perhaps you've already got a matching fabric at home with which you can sew something up and join the challenge during the last days. But now about today's project. I've bought this fabric here with tangerines on it. Here a bigger view of the fabric, because I've already cut my project. And my idea is to sew an Emma dress. Here I'm wearing the t-shirt option, by the way. It has a mock-up collar, a small one, a slightly dropped shoulder, and it is quite tight around the body. So you can perfectly wear it underneath to build interesting outfits. As a dress, Emma normally looks like this here, means a tight skirt. But today I want to make a flare skirt. So this will be the pattern hack. And because it's summertime and I'm already sweating in the long sleeve, I definitely go with the short sleeve option. But this option is already mentioned in the pattern, so this is no problem at all to make it. So this part is no pattern hack. And as a cute little detail, I'll make a lattice hem with pink thread. Unfortunately, I've bought the fabric before having the idea, and I've only bought 2 meters of the fabric, so this was a little bit complicated. You will see it later during the cutting process, which I filmed for you. Because with the flared shape of the side seam, normally you should plan twice the total length of the dress at least, plus the sleeve length. But with my small size I somehow managed to do it. An additional difficulty was that I wanted to make a midi skirt, so a little bit longer than the normal Emma dress. But no worries, also this worked out. One last thing to mention before starting into the making process. As always, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. This helps me a lot as a small creator. Hop over to the other creators of the vlog series. I think they also will be happy about a like and a follow. And of course also visit our Instagram accounts to fully dive into the So Fruity challenge. But now enough talked, let's start with the Fruity project. Have fun watching the video. At first I measured how long the skirt should be. And I chose a mid-calf length for my flared midi skirt, which is, with my average body height, 72 centimeter. This is measured from the waistline downwards, because in the Emma pattern the waistline is drawn in, so like this I can easily make the skirt longer. I had already washed the fabric before, but now the fabric edges are rolled in so much. Especially the horizontal cutting lines are really very rolled in, so I'm giving the fabric a good press. Like this I can really take advantage of the whole length of the fabric. At one of the selvages or vertical edges, my fabric had a stripe of another pattern, which I think is really cute for other designs, but for my idea I didn't need this, so I cut this edge. Then I could also better fold the fabric with the two folds at the sides, exactly symmetrical, just like it's mentioned in the Emma cutting suggestions in the instructions. The front and back pattern pieces could then be placed along these folds. For this working step, I really like working with pins. And as you can also see, I always cut on the floor, as I don't have a cutting table, and on the floor I just have enough space to place my fabric. Here I also had to check already if my planned skirt length leaves enough fabric for my sleeves. But this was luckily the case. Also, the folded fabric sections had to be exactly symmetrical, so that I could add the same width at each side seam. Now comes the pattern hack itself, the adaptation of the skirt part, and this I'm drawing directly onto the fabric with a fabric marker. As in the clip it's perhaps not very clear, I'll show you the adaptations also on a sketch. At first, just shortly something which is not related to the skirt part, as I wanted to do the rolled hem also at the collar. I won't need the facing here. So this part of the paper pattern I'm just folding away and cut the fabric like this. But now to the skirt. At first I figured out how many centimeters I had to make the skirt longer, I mean in comparison to the original hemline. And when I measured the 72 centimeter downwards from the waistline, I got 8.5 centimeter. These measurements are, by the way, without hem allowance, as I'm planning to do the rolled hem. But if you like to fold the hem later, you should add, for example, 2 centimeter for the hem. I then marked there the new length with the fabric marker, each in the front and back, in a right angle to the folding lines. In my size and with my fabric width, I had a space of 16 centimeter between the fabric edges in the center and the side seam edges of the original pattern, by which I could expand the side seams. So I measured these 16 centimeter along the new hemline and marked this point. In the sketch you see this as a green cross. Next, this point can already be linked with the hip line curve. In the sketch, this is the dashed green line. Now there's only one thing left to change, the area at the side seam hem. Let's zoom in. To get a smooth transition at the side seam, you need right angles here. But at the moment, these are not 90 degrees yet. All you have to do now is to measure up 2 centimeter and then link this point in a nice curve with the hemline. As already mentioned, the angle between the side seam and the hemline should be 90 degrees now. Okay, so now the new shape of the side seam and hem is determined. Like this, the dress can be cut. Out of the rest of the fabric, I then cut the sleeve. During the whole cutting process, I absolutely had to pay attention to place all the pattern pieces in the same direction, so that my print would also be in the correct direction later. This is always very important when you have a head pattern. As the hemline of the short sleeve in the pattern includes a hem allowance, I later had to remove this. So I cut off 2 centimeter. Then the sleeve had the right length for my lattice hem. As a first sewing step, I then closed one shoulder seam and the lower part of one side seam. The reason is my preferred workmanship with rolled hems. I don't like to do them all around, but to make the hem in a flat state at first, and then only afterwards close the second seam or the general seam in the sleeves. If you like it better the other way around, of course you can change the order of the sewing steps. I just have the impression that I don't manage to make a clean rolled hem when I have to cover the beginning of the seam with the overlock sewing machine later. Then I made a quick test of the hem on a fabric rest. The best is you follow here the instructions of your overlock sewing machine. But generally spoken, you have to sew this with 1 needle and 3 threads only. You have to set the differential transport to very low, lower than position N. Then the stitch length has to be very short. Perhaps you have to change your knife position, and then you have to put the rolled hem lever into the rolled hem position, of course. By the way, I'm making the hem with 3 different shades of light pink, as I don't have 3 original yarn cones for the overlock sewing machine in the right shade, but I think this still looks quite good. Then I sewed the hems at the sleeve and the skirt and the collar edge with the machine settings I've tried out before. While sewing, I also stretched out the edge a little bit to create an extra ruffle effect. By the way, how do you sew your rolled hems? Do you manage to make them in a round, or do you also prefer to make them in an open state? That would really interest me. Let's chat in the comments. This is how everything looks like now. As a next step, I closed the second shoulder seam. So I put the front and back pattern pieces with their right fabric sides together and pinned the shoulder edge. Now, of course, I had to be extra careful with the meeting rolled hem seams. These should meet exactly and not slip while sewing the shoulder. To ensure this, I just basted the point at the hem through both fabric layers with a few hand stitches. Then remember to return to the normal overlock sewing machine settings. I could close then the shoulder seam without worrying about the collar edge. Of course, this whole basting procedure I had to repeat with all the seams where the rolled hem seams should meet. To finish the overlock seam, the end of the seam has to be threaded into the seam to secure everything and make it neat. A darning needle, which has a bigger eye, perfectly works for this step. Here you can see that the basting did its job and that the hem seams meet nicely. Then the sleeves could be added. After pinning them on, the seams were quickly done. At last I pressed the seams towards the sleeve. Here it is important to work with the tip of your iron only, not the whole surface, to not destroy the 3D shape in the garment. In the end, I only had to close the side seams and the sleeve seams in one piece. Here again, I prepared the hem edges with a hand stitch. Of course, only one side seam was still completely open. The other one I had partially closed before. As the front and back of the Emma pattern are really very similar, but in fact aren't, I recommend marking the back part somehow, for example with a label or an embroidery at the inside. This time, without the collar facing, I decided to go with some hotfix rhinestones at the outside of the back part. These I had anyways at home. I oftentimes let the kids use them during my kids sewing classes. With this little rhinestone heart at the back, I will always know how to put the dress on. Okay, that's it already. The hacked Emma dress is ready. With the lattice hem it's even quicker than the original folded hem. I think if I wouldn't have filmed it, it would have taken me perhaps 1 to 2 hours. So that's a really quick sewing project. And I like my new dress really very much. As you can perhaps see, the length is a little bit shorter than expected. I think because of the tightness of the pattern, then it all pulls upwards. But I like the length anyways. I think like this I can wear this Emma dress in the summertime, but I've also looked for a knit jacket, and this combination is also quite nice. But quickly off with that heavy jacket. It's warm now outside. Like my dress here, if you're using an all-over footprint, the garments are quite bold, and playful, but this is what I especially like about the So Fruity challenge, because it reminds me always that fashion isn't always serious, but can be also playful, funny a bit. This is a thing we oftentimes forget as adults. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you to Yvette for organizing this challenge. I hope I could inspire you a little bit with my video here. And I hope to see all your entries for the So Fruity challenge very soon again on Instagram. And perhaps you will also subscribe to my channel. And we'll see each other to my next video. Take care until then. Bye!